This week we had a total lunar eclipse. It was totally normal, nothing strange happened at all. The blood moon. A very rare occurrence. Facts. If you were in the Asia Pacific or North America regions on Wednesday, then you would have been able to see the total lunar eclipse, otherwise known as a blood moon. I'm very lucky to be living in Mirage Island, so I got to watch it, and I tried to take some photos, but I ended up getting better shots of the trees. Damn shame. Last year, I thought it would be fun to make new blood moon forms for Pokemon, considering, officially speaking, it is a form specific to Ursaluna. I like taking original forms like these and seeing how they can be applied to other Pokemon, and there are a couple of more moon-based Pokemon that I think would look pretty cool bathed in the blood moonlight. So let's see how they turn out. The first Pokemon I'm making a blood moon form for is Umbreon. This is actually a Pokemon I tried to make a form for in the last video, but I epically failed, in the sense that I just couldn't draw Umbreon that day. I got a couple of comments on that video wishing Umbreon was fully realized, so I shall fully realize it just for you and kind of just for me because I need to get this out of my brain. I've had a couple of months to really sit with the idea of Blood Moon Umbreon and really decide the direction I want to take it in, so this sketch is scrapped, obviously. I never end up going with the first idea, but it is normally good practice to try a few different ideas anyways, so I guess I'm doing the right thing after all. To make things slightly easier for myself, I decided to have it sitting down. Look, I get it. A quadruped sitting down is kind of a cop-out, but I do have a plan. You just need to stay with me here. I know how I can make this thing look cool. So it's gonna be pulling the finger. No, just kidding. I blocked in the general body shape and pose so that I could move on to refining some of the finer details and start realizing the design. Kind of like Clefable, this guy also has a superhero-like design. It's giving Mira from Animal Crossing, my favorite villager by the way, so you know, just be nice to her. Once I had the posing down, I added in some spiky fur on the ends of its front legs and flared the claws of the paw that it's raising. It's gonna swipe, no swiping. I saw an opportunity and I had to take it, okay? As you can see here, the tail has become ball. This doesn't survive the final sketch, just letting you know now. I thought I 8, but I was 7 all along. That doesn't even make sense. Anyways, I made the claws make a little more sense and not like they need braces. By the way, shout out if you ever needed braces. Braces gang for life. One time I was chewing on the TV remote and one of my brackets completely came off. I was terrified. Turns out it wasn't a big deal though, but it sure was the worst 45 minutes of my life just waiting for my parents to come home. Not only did I have to explain I broke my braces, but I also had to explain that I was chewing the TV remote. I can't remember which was harder to admit. Anyways, we're getting off track. I really truly tried to make this tail work, but it was just flopping hard, so time for tail 2. Mega Absol Z was a reference I had, so I almost did a kind of similar thing to its Z piece. I don't know what it's called. Eventually I settled on this curved tail with a suspended jewel on the inside. Perhaps a blood moon stone. Who knows? Well, I know. No, I don't. Now it is time for the color, which is pretty much just Umbreon colors. That's the thing with these forms. They don't really change a great deal, but I do my best to make them pretty distinctive from their original forms. Like you wouldn't see this Umbreon and be like, oh cool, just a normal Umbreon. Nothing different about this guy. Nah. You'd really be like, oh, what the goodness gracious is this? What in the... fuck. That's my impression of someone who is surprised by a great deal. Send this video to everyone you know so that it can become viral and I can jumpstart my voice acting career once and for all. A career that I am very qualified for. Well, now that Umbreon is at last created and I have redemption for the scrap design in my previous video, it is time to move on to Pocket Monster number 2. We're going to the Alola region, or perhaps a different region with a Lycanroc in it. Lycanroc is a funny Pokemon because it originally had 2 forms, being Midday and Midnight, and then a year later a secret third option got revealed, Lycanroc Dusk form. This is supposed to be the intermediary between the 2 existing forms, a mixture of the 2 designs, and it does work, but it also leans more into the design of Midday with some slight Midnight elements. So I want to give Lycanroc a brand new form that leans more into the design of its Midnight form. Enter Blood Moon Lycanroc. I have an idea to make this guy like howling at the moon, or maybe not not so much howling, but just kind of posing around it in some kind of way. Wolves are generally sociable creatures and live in packs. I couldn't find any evidence that Lycanroc goes against this grain, but also I didn't look super hard, so this design idea will either be nice and new or tried and true. Straight fire, that one was. Or maybe just fire, because let's be honest, there's nothing straight about this channel. This guy isn't so hunched. I have it really upright and a bit more limber than its counterparts, although I say that and the sketch is becoming a little stiff. I should say that the sketch does not do the final piece justice. I did end up fixing a few things between this and the final art, but we're designing right now, so hopefully all is forgiven. I originally drew in these goofy ass claws, which are just a bit much to be honest. I really do like the idea of this claw design, but right now they're just not hitting, so I gotta remember to fix them up later on. I want the hair to go full on crescent moon. I don't need it to look super edgy or anything. I'm not really going for a human hairstyle. I'm more or less going for, what if we shaped our hair to look like gigantic natural satellites when partially eclipsed by the Earth? Sort of style. An important detail I didn't want to miss was the actual moon part of its body. I do try to incorporate it on the forehead just like Bloodmoon Ursaluna, but in the case it doesn't quite read as such, I do put Bloodmoon elements elsewhere on the body, such as Noctowl's wings or Lunatone's bumps. Lunatone's lovely lunar lumps, I don't know. The colors are very similar to Lycanroc's midnight form, but I didn't really incorporate so much of the white fur and instead used the black and red. I also reminded myself to change those damn claws. See, it's the same idea, but just executed in a different way. The final touch was to give it that signature glow of the eyes and also some rocky shoulder pads, you know, for a bit of variation in the design. I've been listening to myself back while recording. I've realized I've just been talking so goddamn fast. It's like watching a video on 1.5 speed. I'm so sorry. We'll slow it down. At long last, we have the Moon Queen herself, Ms. Lunala of the Moon, with an E. My reference picture needs to be this concept of its full moon form because this thing is gonna be round. My current lore stipulates that Bloodmoon Lunala is the creator of Bloodmoon forms. I want it to have this look about it where its body is completely engulfed by the moon energy, and it's essentially just a host with which the moon uses to contain its rare power. I don't know if we've really had just general forces of nature using life forms in the Pokemon world in this way. I mean, I know that we have a quartet called the Forces of Nature and like the Weather Trio and stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a different thing that I can't really explain that well at the moment. Maybe I'll explain it in a better way in a future video. Subscribe for more. I like, or maybe don't like, to think that this Lunala is literally being used as a living host for the otherwise formless power of the Blood Moon. As if nature just one night said, alright Lunala, Moonlight needs a house, and tag, you're it. Brutal. I started the design off by drawing the classic Lunala elements like the head and its chest, as well as its headpiece, which I drew to look more like a pair of jaws, I guess. I then worked around this body and tried to basically fit it inside of a ball of wings. Not to be confused with a bowl of wings. Catch me at Chili's after this. Just kidding, I don't eat meat. This does look kind of sick, but I just didn't really like it a whole lot. I feel like it's not engulfed enough, like it needs to be consumed a little more by the Blood Moon energy. Because I didn't draw in its arms, I used the accent color to make a pattern that resembled its original form, which again looks pretty sick, but I still feel like there's a different direction I want to take it. Oh well, maybe I'm just having conflicting thoughts about it. There have been many times in the past when I'm sketching out a fakemon design and it just doesn't look quite right, but I follow through anyways, usually because my qualms aren't necessarily with the design itself, but just the execution of the art, which for a sketch is not super important to me because I draw over and polish it anyways. When I do the polish, I might hate the line art and think it looks goofy with the solid color, but it's when I make those last minute final touches and add in the textures and shading and highlighting when I go, oh yes, this is the vision. So I'm going to trust my gut with this one and see where the polish takes me. Hopefully it doesn't look terrible, but fret not, you don't have to wait a minute longer because it is now time to check out our final Blood Moon forms. Kicking things off, it is Blood Moon Umbreon, the Moonlight Pokemon and a dark fighting type. It has the ability Moon Claws, which makes contact moves hit twice as hard. This Umbreon did not evolve from an Eevee and was instead born in this form. It harnesses the power from the moon to supercharge its attacks. Using the power of the moon, it holds a special stone using telekinesis. If the stone is dropped, Umbreon will die. Howling into the night, we have Bloodmoon Lycanroc, the wolf Pokemon, and a pure rock type. Its ability is called Solo Mission, which ups defense and special defense by 1 for each empty party slot, the maximum of course being by 5 stages. Under special circumstances, it will evolve into this form. It is understood the lunar eclipse is related to this form. Scientists have observed many Rockruff evolving under the lunar eclipse, but only one has evolved into the special form of Lycanroc. And finally, the creature behind it all. It is Bloodmoon Lunala, the Blood Moon Pokemon, and a fairy ghost type. It has the unique ability Total Lunar Eclipse, which makes it so that moves never miss, but in turn, they also cannot be avoided. This unique Lunala is said to come from another world. Its power is so strong that it can manifest in certain Pokemon. It has only ever been sighted once. It shines so brightly that you can see its light anywhere on the planet. So there we go. All of my Bloodmoon forms have finally been revealed. Let me know what you think of them in the comments below, and if you haven't already, be sure to check out my first Bloodmoon video if you want to see even more of these guys. Thank you all so much for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every single Fakemon Friday or Saturday if you live in Mirage Island, just like me. And of course, a total lunar shout out to our lovely channel members. Thank you all so much for your support. It means the moon to me. But like a really big moon, of course. You know, if we have a blood moon, why isn't there such thing as a blood sun?